market update, sales update. You're about 4 markets into the season now, 5, 4?
Yeah, 4. Mhm.
Okay, so 4 now data points to track. After the first 2, things were looking pretty good. You've now had weeks 3 and 4. I know just looking at some notes, third market was successful, brought $950 worth of stuff, sold $750, surpassed our first week high while still bringing home a good bit. And you said, hey, the market felt slow. That takes us to week 4. How is week 4?
Oh, wait. It's every week has just been like a completely different animal. Yeah. Week 4, it felt like the energy at the market felt good. It was a little slow, but it didn't seem that slow. But for whatever reason, like nobody was buying anything. Like we did 475, I think, but we didn't even crack 500 after doing 700, 650, 750, and then 475. Yeah. It was just like, it was a pretty big shock that it would dip down like that. And yeah, all I know is from talking to some of the other vendors that it's just a busy weekend. There was a bunch of other events going on, and obviously they've got like years of experience under the belt. They're like, yeah, just a slow week, and it'll be better next week, or it'll be better in a month from now. And I don't have that sort of like long-term view to be able to judge it up against them. Like, oh my God, I didn't even do $500. The business is going to fail. But every week we just go in, I learn a lot about who my customers are, what they're really looking for, what I could do different to sell more of this, or so on and so forth. And yeah, I'm just trying to just take everything in and sell as much as I can and learn as much as I can at the same time.
Where's the oh shit line? If you hovered around what line would you start to get worried?
That kind of $600 every week, just knowing where our finances need to fall. That's if that 700-ish a week is getting by the skin of our teeth that we talked about last time. Yeah. Like anything under that, like that 500-600 bucks consistently, that's, oof, this is, yeah, we either need to pivot to another market or try to boost sales elsewhere to make up the lack there, or look at maybe a different off farm job. But yeah, probably that's between 5 and 6 consistently would be that something needs to change to ride this one out.
Yeah, because that gets tough with too many of those in a row. Because if you need 7, you get 5. Now you're $200 in the hole. Next week you really need 9.
Yeah.
And if you get 5 again, next week you really need 11.
Mhm.
And it compounds down. Was it more a case of, was the market not crowded, there's 2 ways that this could be. The market in total has less people going through it, or there's the same amount of people, but you're getting less booth traffic.
I think this time I was getting less boot where, so the chart path week number 1 was insane. So many people, more than I could have handled by myself. Everyone was coming through. It was week 2, dropped way down. It was super slow, but still did okay. Week 3, it felt like it was just equally as slow, but we brought a lot of high value stuff that people really wanted. So we still sold a ton. And then this time it was like the market didn't feel that much slower. If anything, it felt like it was a little busier, but for whatever reason, people just weren't checking us out.
Any difference between what your display was between 3 and 4?
I haven't changed a single thing. The variability of what I brought has been a little bit, but if anything, I've been pivoting to not bring as much of the stuff that hasn't been selling and bring more of the stuff that was selling. And so it really felt like it's like I did everything right and it still went the opposite way. And yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know what the difference was exactly.
Are you getting repeat customers over these 4 weeks, like that you notice?
Oh yeah, I've got a handful of people that they're coming every week. Yeah, they've come all 4 weeks and they're buying $30 worth of stuff, and super happy about it, giving me positive feedback on what they're doing with it and telling other people. And yeah, it's been cool to build this sort of semi loyal customer base out of the gate. That's been really rewarding.
Yeah, this is the tough thing, whether you're in business or making content, they say like when you're making content, right? It's just you post consistently and it's just going to take time. whether I'm doing podcasts or YouTube videos or whatever. I can't expect to go become Mr. Beast in 5 videos, right? Like it's only after hundreds of videos. And with a business, I think in many ways it's the same thing. The difference with a business is with content, you don't have costs forcing results, but in a business, you do.
Yeah.
And you need that stable nucleus, but that stable nucleus isn't going to, let's be honest, right? You're not going to have a stable core of customers after a month. You'll have some, but not nearly enough to sustain you.
Yeah.
Unless you launch out of the gates with some mega brand right away. So it's that catch 22 of it's going to take time. We don't always have the time because we have costs. And the only way we get the time is by paying those costs off. So it's like, how do you hedge? How do you keep building that customer base and staying in business? And if you're adjusting at the market, which you're doing, hey, what are people liking? What are they liking? I'll bring more of that product. I'll make sure I'm not selling out, doing whatever you can with your display. It becomes, I imagine quickly you could start thinking like, what are my choices here? You don't have a lot of levers to pull.
Yeah.
Because at the market, it's just people show up, right? Like you could maybe promote it on your social media and do what you can to say, come to the market. That only works so well. And then once there's people at the market, like they have to stop at your booth. So I'm thinking, all right, the things, what could you do in this scenario? It's what other ways can I bring in income? If I need $700 a week to come into the business, it doesn't matter how it comes in. So you can go to chefs, you can go to whatever grocery stores, you have online sales, you could sell offline, whatever. Where are you at with the business between the farmer's market and then alternative market streams?
So what the game plan is currently is farmer's market on Saturday. And then, we're launching kind of the online store with a couple of pickup locations. First, initially, it'll be just farmer's market. And then it'll be at the coffee shop that I've been doing a little bit of like full sale with. And trying to do that strategically. So farmer's market's on Saturday, and then pick up in town, and then ultimately pick up on farm and in town will both be on Tuesday, because that'll be a day that I'm off from my other job. And that was strategic because the goal is to take as much as I possibly can on Saturday so that I'm not missing like any potential sales. It's not, they would have spent $20. Like they wanted to buy 2 bunches of carrots with their backyard salad mix, but I sold out of carrots. I just lost $8 of potential $8 in sales from this person, so on and so forth. But that means then suddenly if I'm taking more than I could sell, then now I have more stuff that I've got to move. Some stuff can last, like a bunch of carrots can do okay in the cooler for a week and still sell perfectly fine. As long as put it on the top of the pile, it gets bought pretty quickly. I don't feel bad about it. Certain grains and stuff, but really need like midweek, early next week time to do that. So having the online store pickup to where essentially, like for instance, I dropped orders off today, and every single thing that I dropped off, I didn't have to pick a thing because it was all left over from farmers. So I was able to offload some extra stuff that I didn't sell at the farmer's market and make a little bit of additional sales this week. And so really hoping to bolster that because it is a market. It's my like Covington people that I basically neglected as soon as the farmer's market started. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a good push of people there. Yeah. And then combine that with people that might pre-order to have their stuff picked up at the market on Saturday. That's just the plan right now because everything's so new and there's so many logistical things involved with what I'm bringing. And I do have this flexibility because it's farmer's market. And if I don't have any broccoli this week, I don't have any. But there is some hesitancy to really start talking with chefs because then I'm locking myself into, oh yeah, you got to deliver 10 pounds of salad greens every single week. I imagine they would be somewhat flexible. Their business is dependent upon you being able to deliver it. I really would rather hold off on doing those sort of wholesale orders consistently until I feel like I have better bearings on like what the flow will look like on the farm.
Yeah, it's really tough. I think at early stages, like I even think about how we've grown and different things I've tried. It's you want to make the main thing. and put effort into that. So in your case, like it's the farmer's market. That's the main thing. We're going to make sure we don't sell out. We'll do whatever we can there. But it's once you've dialed that in as much as you can do, then and it's okay if those numbers aren't hitting. It's so you could pivot, which we could talk about what that might look like, to another market or something. You can add on. And I know people will be like, hey, adding on is just more work. And you're right, it is more work. If you need the money, like the money's got to come from somewhere. So if you can't make it show up at the farmer's market, what can you do to get it from somewhere else? And whether that's, I know you're not doing the chefs, but it's that, or it's online sales, or it's restaurants, or whatever it can be. Can you bring in that other bit to get that delta closer together? If this market stayed how it was, what would it take? Forget if it stayed how it was. What would it take at this point to say, I need to look at a different market, not a additional market, but I need to leave
That's
this market
different.
to go to a different market?
Yeah, I would say because this is a very real thing that I'm having to hash through right now. Like so we just finished April. So this first market, May 4th, will be first one in May. If May doesn't really pick up, I know there's going to be some other things going on this week. So I'm trying to go in with some realistic expectations for this first week of May. But if this next 4 markets don't pop, if we're not back up there, that kind of 750 range, then I think I've got about 4 more weeks in the tank we can hopefully scrape by with like low sales, because everything's so thin right now. Everything margins are so tight. Just, finances are finances. Money is what it is. And that's, like I think 4 more weeks and it's time to really consider if we continue to come back or not. The other kicker is though, is this month is when I like pay which I mean, I guess if I pay it and it doesn't work out, it is what it is. And it's just a wash. But May is the month that the full season market fees due. So it's like at the end of May, it'll be a decision on, it's like, I'm going to leave the market and I am paying like the full season amount that I agreed to pay when I started. That may make things interesting, but yeah, 4, maybe 6 weeks. If we can squeak it out where we have a couple of like killer markets, it's just hard to know. You just don't know what things are going to hold. And maybe we get a rainy one, maybe you get that. And then you start being able to like make excuses for why it wasn't good other than just it's the market. Yeah, I think 4 to 6 weeks is my limit before I'd really decide like, no, it's time to, we had a good run. I was able to learn a lot and kind of realize I could do this. And now it's time to maybe find a bigger, more established market that might be more competitive, but maybe a potential option to drive some more sales.
I remember back when I did the conference, Permaculture Voices, started that back in 2013 with the first one in 2014. There was definitely, that was a year of nail biting to the extreme, whittled my fingers to the bone, because I did everything you shouldn't do in a business, high expenses that I could not get out of with a trickling in sale volume was like a recipe for stress. So imagine just like having to pay off, we're talking like 6-figure expenses here, and then having sales come in like drip. So extremely stressful. And I started to go through a few things, and I'm glad I went through that because I learned a lot, and there's tough questions that came out of that. And I think one that realistically any business owner has to ask is it me? Right? Mm-hmm. Is there something, and I'm not saying there is in your case, but like one, it can always be a different market, right? It can always be something's wrong with the market.
Yeah.
But every business has to say, is something wrong with my business? And in my case, like it was just too expensive for the niche. I didn't have a great promotional channel. So it was like you couldn't reach enough people and you're expensive. It just made it really hard. Like that slice of the pie that I was after, I thought it was really big. But that slice of pie was much smaller than I thought. In a farmer's market, obviously you're competing against other vendors. You have your pricing, you bring the product, You have your display. Is there any like, could I do something different to get more of those walker buys into the booth?
I think for better or for worse, I think I'm constantly thinking like, is it me? Like that's just my default state of being. And so I think about that a lot. Honestly, I feel like I'm selling stuff that is very normal. It's like carrots, radishes, salad greens, cooking greens. Got a couple of kind of odd things here and there. Broccoli are essentially broccoli, green onions, garlic, nothing weird. I'm not trying to find some weird niche. So I don't think it's that. It could be pricing. I haven't heard a single person complain about pricing yet. People feel that way. They're just being nice and not saying anything about it. I think the booth looks awesome. I think it looks really great. Branding, marketing. Maybe I come on a little strong. Sometimes I like to crack jokes about like I saved you 6 bunches of carrots because I know that's what you're going to buy. Like I make jokes and stuff like that. Most people laugh. Maybe it's just because they're nice and God, this guy's a jerk. But really don't feel like I have much competition. The other two veg people there, they're not selling what I'm selling, and I'm not selling what they're selling.
Do you have any relationship with them where you can ask them like, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Yeah, well, obviously I've just met them. One lady I met her early on before the season, and then now for farmers markets, and another lady and her family, their farm. This is their second market that they've done. They've done it for years. So I don't know. I hesitate. I'm such an open book. I'll tell anybody up the street, like, yeah, this is what our sales were. But I know not everyone is so open about it. So I haven't really asked like hard numbers, but yeah, so I haven't really had those conversations yet really with them. I don't feel like I quite have that rapport yet. So just like really, I'll open up, but I don't expect them to really do it yet. But yeah, it feels like I'm doing everything right. It really does. So the only thing I can think is it's either pricing or yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe I just need to stand there and be quiet and just let people do their thing and not try to sell so hard. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you think about like rationally, okay, what I would think if people are going to the market and they're not stopping, they just don't want it. It's not pricing would be like, I'm coming up. And even if I'm not saying anything, I'm just like, we went to a farmer's market this weekend in some city and I was looking at some of the crafts and like my kids were all into them. And then I look at the price on it and I'm like, ooh, no,
Yeah.
keep walking. And so there maybe is some of that, but if people aren't even stopping, it's like we just didn't come here for that. So maybe it's not that crowd. So this is this is probably a very real scenario that many farmers get into. You know, I go to farmers market. I think it's good, and you can do whatever you can ahead of time to suss it out, and then you get there, and it's bam, this is what it is. So you have a couple of choices, right? Let's hope it picks up, but let's say it just slogs. So choice number one or pathway one, stay at that market, add another market. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, so adding another market at this point, it would be one of two options. One, it's either I divide and conquer with my wife and she goes to another market and we figure out what the heck we're going to do with our kids. I take a kid, she takes a kid, and pray to God that they don't run away or destroy the booth or something. And so we do that, and she does a market, or maybe she does this market and I go and try to get it at a bigger, more competitive one in Atlanta, Athens, whatever. Or I know that there is a market in Athens, and there's a couple other ones, but I know one in particular that is like a legit farmer's market in Athens on Wednesday nights. I want to say it's 4 to 8. So it would be one of those two options. The only thing is I don't have Wednesdays off. So then it's either, so do you switch your day off from work from Tuesday to Wednesday, and then you just hustle all day Wednesday picking and then finish at like 2 o'clock, and then you drive to the market, do that and hope that it's really good. Or or you take even more time off from your consistent paycheck to then try to boost sales. And neither options sounds great. My wife isn't as super involved in the business. She wants to be more involved. I want her to be more involved. It's just the nature of having kids. She has a job, just life. It's hard to, and sometimes she'll tell me about the arugula. And then I go into this 15-minute rant and she glazes over. Yeah, sorry.
It's green.
So yeah, it's green and it's spicy.
All right. So
But
so if I put a gun to your head today, you got to pick one of those two options. You have to pick one. What would you take?
I'm going, we divide and conquer, just because trying to do more on my own just it feels like a recipe for disaster at this point.
Yeah, it's hard because I imagine this is what it'd be like to find a location for a franchise or a restaurant. Forget a franchise. A franchise, they probably tell you, okay, you don't put the Subway right here. Don't put
Yeah,
it over here. But your own restaurant, it's yeah, we can afford this spot. I don't know, it's in a plaza next to a nail salon and an auto parts store. You know, do I want to be in here? I don't know. You don't know what the market is. It can seem great, but until you're there, you don't know, and you got to take shots at it. So adding a market, new day, same day, that's an option.
yep,
Another option is you ride it out. Let's go to option B. You totally abandon. So forget divide and conquer. You're out.
yeah.
You go to another market. So the one she was going to take, you go to. What are your thoughts if you had to do that?
It's definitely been a thought. I've thought it not the first week just because it was just insane, but every week since then, it's, do I need to pick a new market? Do I need to do a better market, bigger, a more established one that's like mostly farmers? And so and also too, I've got a few markets under my belt. I've seen what my spread can look like, what I am capable of growing, what I can charge, so on and so forth, what I can communicate. And so I feel a little bit more comfortable kind of going from, I don't know if I'd go all the way to say this is going from like minors to the big leagues, but it's maybe we're going like double A up to triple A. Like we're taking a step up because, oh no, like I can perform, I can do this. Because yeah, that's part of the reason why I picked this market was taking a little bit of a risk, but they don't have anybody that's selling really what I'm selling. So I can find a good niche. It's not too far from the house. There was like definitely some things that I sacrificed, like guaranteed huge sales, because I would much rather come in low and slow and make sure that it's manageable before I just look for the big time. But I feel like now I could probably take a step up from where we're at.
That's
And,
an
and
interesting
do
point right there. Like
yeah,
a new farmer, it's okay, here you go, sign up for this contract, 20 weeks, this much sales, you got to deliver or you're screwed. And
yeah.
that sounds great for the guarantee, but now you got to deliver
Mhm.
versus like this more manageable route that's less of a guarantee, but it feels like you can actually execute.
Yeah.
What's a harder what's harder, asking your wife to double up and take her own market or going to another market?
I would say probably doubling up would be harder just because Saturday is such a busy day for her business. And she already decided to only work every other Saturday so that she can be free to help me. So she's already like taken a little bit of a hit to her business in order to build this. And so now, hey babe, like I need you to completely forget about the busiest day of the week your industry has so that you can go and do another farmer's market and hope, you know, and oh yeah, and by the way, we need to invest like another three, four, $500 into all the stuff so that we can do the same layout at this farmer's market as we do here. And so
It's always a fun
that's
conversation.
yeah, that would be a much harder. That's going to be a much bigger ask than just saying, "Hey, I've crunched the numbers. It's just not working. I'm doing another farmer's market." That would actually be a much easier conversation. It's just a matter of, am I just jumping ship too early, or just because I'm like constantly trying to find the next hottest, best thing. Yeah. So that would be a much easier conversation that I need you to do this for the business.
The more reason for some of the things we talked about in past episodes to really control costs as much as possible, because the tighter that is, the more wiggle room you have on sales. Out of control spending means you better have beyond out of control sales to cover it, so that you're in a good spot, I think, there. What about, let's say, path number 3 is you stay where you're at, it languishes, but you make up the difference outside. Do you think do you think you could add another 250 non-farmers market sales a week? Is that doable?
I think so. I'm really hoping that, yeah, with kind of this online CSA type thing, I'm hoping that will drive some sales for sure. Like I said, we haven't even launched it yet. We started with like a soft run this week when we talked about it a couple weeks ago of just send out a text, like, hey, we're going back to the way I did things before the farmer's market. I had a couple people respond, not much, but next week will be like the big reveal, like posting it on social media. The store is live. You can order, you have the whole spread of the option of what we have available and doing that. And so I'm hoping that'll pick up and make up, make up for the, what's missing. And ideally it would be great for that to become the main, or the main thing. Cause then I free myself up from having to be in the farmer's market every week. Even though it's been a ton of fun, I really enjoyed it. It's a ton of work, but yeah, I'm really hoping that'll pick up. And in my plan, I've been shooting for, somewhere 250, $300 a week in sales from that once it's really going. And so I thought that would be gravy on top, but it might be the 250, 300 that we need to just get to breaking even.
Yeah, it might be the get you to full tank.
Yeah.
Get the tank up to F. So if it, let's say you did that, let's say you had, let's say that brought in $500 and this market stays at $500, would you just say, hey, let's just play the rest of the season out? It's good, more than good. Or would you still even look at pivoting off that market, even if the off non-farmers market sales and that were above target?
If it stayed down there at $500 a market, and it's going to be tough because it doesn't really change the amount of work. Yeah, you pick a couple $100 more, but what's a few dozen more bunches of this and that, whatever,
Right.
to get to that. And so it's, if we're gonna work this hard to deliver at market, we should make it work as best we possibly can. Try to make that be the biggest bang for our buck that we can.
What's your strategy for launching the online CSA? That's something a lot of people would want to do, look to do, but the challenge for anything is, where do you get the people to sign up? What are you looking to do?
So so primarily initially, well, one, I'll have three different locations to pick up. So I'm hitting three different markets, but the main one that I think will potentially be the most successful would be like in Covington, like in the town that we previously lived in, just because I have all those friends and family from church and just people in the community that I've built relationship with over a decade that I'm essentially completely neglect. Some of them come to the market because they live relatively close, but for the most part, like I've completely stopped servicing those customers and that client base altogether. But so the hope is that there's some social media, just they're sending texts to people, talking about it when I'm around people, that it's like we can really get that part going. And then even though we're like out in a pretty rural area, start hitting up some of more of the surrounding towns. There's a pretty affluent city close to where we are that there's not really a farmer's market. There was a pretty successful farm in the town that moved last year. You're up to the mountains. And so I feel like there's a possible niche that we can hit with on-farm pickup. And then the people that are like buying consistently every week at the farmer's market, then they can order ahead and just have it ready to pick up. It's really the plan with that is just, it's built. We're just going to have to start managing it and hope that sort of our system of the days that we offer for pickup and the window that you have to order and the amount that you can order and all that, just that it fits. So I'm toying with, do I go with just online store versus here's a box every week? I'm going to try and do both for a minute because I've got some people that are telling me like, I just want to pay $30 and just get a box or whatever, and then I'll figure it out from there. I don't really have time to think about what I'm going to buy. And so we'll just A/B test it for a little bit and just see from there. I think there's pros and cons of both. And so, yeah, it's just like we've talked about, it's just staying adaptable. Just going to throw it out there and just play it and just see for a couple of weeks, for a couple months, and just see what's working and what's not. And then do we need to start sourcing from some of these other farms I've built relationships with that are really interested in doing the same sort of thing and start offering more of a whole diet offering. My wife does some baking. We start offering like baked goods, like bread and stuff like that. The possibilities are really endless. It's just a matter of just trying to start somewhere and just see what will be the best fit for us and this farm.
Yeah. What fits? Where can you get some traction? What works? All that stuff. And it's just amazing hearing this, like all the things you have to decide. And
Yeah.
I think this is like the realest farm show ever, like this series. Like there's no sugar coated bullshit out there of how you do it. Like this is how these things happen.
Mhm.
And it loves, and I'm guilty of this. Like it can get cleaned up so nicely in a book or a course. But the reality is just this. Like most of the answers you don't know. Sometimes you don't know what questions to ask. There's a million choices, and you've got to just go off your gut and try stuff. I mean,
Yep.
just despite the sales, I'd say they're not amazing. They're not terrible. You're probably, where do you feel, like in the middle somewhere? Okay about it?
Yeah. Yeah. If I'm the only thing I have to compare to is the other people there. If I'm looking at what they're selling, how much they appear to show up with versus what they seem to go home with, I'm probably still doing better than everybody else. Probably more people buying my stuff than anybody else at the market. Crafts people, I don't know, maybe the cotton candy person is doing better than me. I don't know. We'll see. But other than that, yeah, I'm still probably, maybe it's a super prideful, but it's probably still the best one there.
Right.
But yeah, that's at least something to be positive about. And if it really is just the fact that the market opened a month earlier than it's ever opened before, in a time when it's super heavy with spring events, and none of the other vendors seem to be upset. And they're even telling me, like one vendor overheard belly aching about it after the last market. And they pulled me to the side. They're like, listen, man, this is just how it goes. It'll get better. Let's get to the middle of May, get into June, and it'll be busy just like it was the opening weekend. It's okay. So maybe I just need to quit being a newbie and freaking out and this and that, whatever, and just ride it out and let's just let things happen.
That's the other thing. A year from now, you could be like, I was insane. You could look back at this, listen to this, and laugh and be like, what the hell was I thinking? Hindsight. It could all just turn out to be totally fine. And this is just it. We're literally looking at the first 5 minutes of a 2 hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, hey, this is just stop focusing on something zoomed in so closely. Like it just doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
that's what you do when it's uncertain, right? Like you just overanalyze
Yeah.
what you have. You think the worst, not the better, and look for reasons to find doubt.
And I think it's kind of, yeah, so I think it's just a survival mechanism. Like you don't have anything to base it off of. You've never been down this road before. You're trying to stay on your toes. You're trying to stay like ready to react to whatever's going to happen. And so you start like coming up with like contingency plans just to survive. You're in that like prepper mode of, is it going to be an EMP or a zombie apocalypse? I don't know. So let's just go ahead and like plan for both. And that's where it's just like I'm at right now. It's just like trying to come up with every contingency plan so that I can be ready to respond to like whatever actually ends up happening.
Because there's no need to worry about the upside. If it goes up, great. Who cares? That takes care of itself. Like, why focus on that? Let's just focus on the worst side of it all. The other thing I'm thinking, listening to this, is there for sure is someone listening to this saying, I wish I could do $500 a week at the farmer's market. And I know costs are cost. Like you need what you need. That's not to say $500 is not good enough, but there's somebody out there for sure is, I wish I could do 500. I know I've interviewed people who did $100 to $300 at their first farmer's market. So I think you're in a pretty good place, having hit 7 or something like that, maybe is your high.
Yeah.
That's not nothing. I think it's a lot
Yeah.
to be proud of. And for never having done it, to start out there, there's definitely worse in it all. The other thing that I'm trying to find the note in here that you sent is you have gotten some good feedback. Like one of your favorite comment, there's no way you just started farming. I guess you were
Yeah.
at it for, I always thought you were at it for a while now. So
Yeah.
those are the parts of this that the non-financial benefits that come from it. Like how much has this first month of selling helped offset all the work that's gone into it, just from speaking to people, getting some loyal customers, seeing people be happy, hearing the compliments? I know we've spent so many episodes in this episode talking about the money, and that definitely matters. But there's a lot, the value of somebody just being like, you're doing a good job,
Mhm.
sometimes is worth more than the money in the till that day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's one family in particular that I'm seeing in my mind. Yeah. They come by every week. They don't think about it. They just grab stuff and they buy it and they tell me every week, like, oh yeah, we cooked it and it was great. And it's, yeah, just the reality of it. I'm feeding these people. Like these people are grocery shopping. They're feeding their new little babies and things. And yeah, it really is. It feels extremely rewarding. Yeah. Cause there has to be, I guess there doesn't have to be, but there has to be some sort of like bigger picture, heartfelt thing about feeding people, taking care of the planet, contributing to the food system, whatever it is for whatever person it is. There's got to be a bigger why behind it other than just because I like to work hard and get really sweaty and whatever. Like and it's been extremely rewarding to see people enjoying, yeah, not just buying it once, but like coming back week after week and me not saying, oh, so what'd you think? But they're like going out of their way to tell me like, oh, it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I need to get more, to buy 2 bunches of carrots this week because I made something with my bunch the last 2 weeks and my family eats it all before I can even get it. So I don't even know what your carrots taste like. I got that from another grower, actually. That was pretty cool. But yeah, it's been extremely rewarding. And I think sometimes I just need to step back because it can get really easy, especially I think in today's world where it's like that kind of hustle grind culture, so on and so forth, where you can just, it all becomes about the bottom line or whatever, and just be like I'm farming, like I'm growing food, I'm harvesting it, I'm taking it, people are buying it and they're taking it home to their families and they're doing like we're contributing to changing the food system in this city, in this area. And that's, yeah, sometimes I just need to step back and take a deep breath and remember, even if that, like at the end of the day, when I dreamt about this 10 years ago, listening to the interviews from Permaculture Voices, like it was never about the money. It was always about the dream of changing the food system, feeding people, growing extremely nutritious food. And it's, if we've done anything else, like we've done that, we've accomplished that, even if on a small scale. So it's beyond reward.
How much did you sell last April 2023?
Nothing.
Yeah, so nothing to something. Now, I know that maybe sounds like, woo, but it matters in business. You've grown crops from seed, you've sold them to people that are happy to buy them, and they've came back to buy more. And
Yeah.
it might not always be as much as you want, but if you dreamed about doing that and wanted to do it, like you've made that part of the journey. And so many people haven't and would give up along the way or are afraid to even start, that there is a lot there. And it's hard in the chaos that we've talked about here to just step back and be like, look out at the field and be like, I did this. This wasn't here a year ago. And now it is. I have these customers that now know me for growing food for them.
Yeah.
That didn't exist before. And just those little small bites, it's the little bit of nourishment for the soul to say, keep going through the crappy times, find a way to figure it out, find a way to keep going. Now, on the opposite side, if you're like doing this and you're like, I hate it,
Yeah.
none of this matters, that's also a good sign to listen to. You're there. I think the other thing, it's like this small lesson of, you want an easy way to change the world or make a dent in the world that I could do a better job of. I think a lot of people could. Just like hearing what you're saying, it's just like, tell somebody how good whatever work they're doing is.
Yes.
Like, how easy is that to do? To be like, man, like this is amazing coffee you did, or your produce is so good. It costs you nothing. It feels like just a throwaway by you, but that can really land with the person on the other end. And I don't think we do enough of it. I know when people email me about the podcast, I'm like, oh, I love this show. It always does feel like, I love hearing that stuff. Hey, it mattered. It made an impact. Like this.
Yeah. You never get tired of positive feedback if it's like real legitimate positive feedback. And it's never, oh, I'm so tired of people telling me how good job I'm doing.
Yeah, because you need the validation. Although you can do it for you all day.
Yeah.
But eventually it's like, also want to hear it from somebody else. Like,
Yeah, for
not
sure.
just me. Like somebody else say, hey, I like this too.
Yeah.
Hang tough. We'll stay in touch throughout May. Find out how the market goes, how it all goes. Hopefully it picks up here. And we'll be talking again.
Talk to you later.